Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have a conversation with one of history's greatest leaders? A man who ruled the Roman Empire yet spent his quiet moments wrestling with the deepest questions of human existence. Marcus Aurelius didn't just command legions, he commanded his own mind, and the private journal he kept during his military campaigns has become one of the most powerful guides to living with purpose and inner strength ever written. Welcome to Dhawan Essence, where we unlock wisdom for a better life. Today, we're diving deep into Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, a book that's not really a book at all, but rather the intimate thoughts of a philosopher king who faced the same struggles we all do, just on a much larger stage. By the end of this summary, you'll discover how ancient Stoic wisdom can transform your daily challenges into opportunities for growth, help you find unshakable peace in chaos, and teach you to live with the kind of dignity that makes every moment meaningful. If you're ready to gain insights that have guided leaders and thinkers for nearly 2,000 years, consider subscribing to join our community of wisdom seekers. Let's start with understanding what makes this book so extraordinary. Marcus Aurelius never intended for anyone to read his meditations. These were his personal notes to himself, written during brutal military campaigns along the Danube frontier, where he was literally fighting to preserve the Roman Empire while fighting an even more important battle within his own mind. Think about that for a moment. Here's a man with absolute power over millions of people, yet he's reminding himself daily about humility, mortality, and the importance of treating others with kindness. It's like finding the private diary of a modern world leader, where instead of political calculations, you discover profound reflections on what it means to be human. The first major principle that runs through every page of Aurelius's thoughts is the discipline of perception. He understood something that modern psychology has only recently confirmed, that we don't react to events themselves, but to our judgments about those events. When faced with setbacks, betrayals, or disappointments, Aurelius would remind himself to examine his initial reaction and ask whether his interpretation was serving him or harming him. He writes about this constantly, telling himself to see things as they really are, not as his emotions want them to paint them. Here's how this works in practice. Imagine you're stuck in traffic and you're already running late for an important meeting. Your natural reaction might be frustration, anger, maybe even panic. But Aurelius would approach this differently. He'd recognize that the traffic itself is neither good nor bad. It simply is. The suffering comes from his judgment that this situation is terrible and shouldn't be happening. By changing his perception, he transforms a moment of stress into an opportunity for patience and acceptance. This isn't about being passive or giving up. It's about responding from a place of clarity rather than emotional reactivity. The second transformative concept is what Aurelius calls the discipline of action. This is about understanding your role in the larger scheme of things and fulfilling it with excellence, regardless of external circumstances. Aurelius believed that every person has a function in the world, just like every organ has a function in the body. When you're operating according to your true nature, when you're doing what you're meant to do with integrity and skill, you experience a deep satisfaction that no external reward can match. But here's where it gets really practical. Aurelius wasn't talking about finding your passion or following your dreams in the modern sense. He was talking about excellence in whatever role you currently occupy. Whether you're a student, a parent, an employee, or a leader, the question isn't whether you like your circumstances, but whether you're bringing your best self to them. He reminds himself repeatedly that his job as emperor isn't to be loved or praised, but to serve the common good with wisdom and justice. Your job, whatever it is, becomes a spiritual practice when you approach it with this mindset. The third pillar of Aurelius's philosophy is the discipline of will, which is really about accepting what you cannot control while taking full responsibility for what you can. This might sound simple, but it's probably the hardest thing for most of us to master. We waste enormous amounts of energy trying to control other people's opinions, the weather, the economy, our past mistakes, or our uncertain future. Aurelius constantly reminds himself that the only thing truly under his control is his response to whatever happens. Think about how liberating this is. You can't control whether you get promoted, but you can control the quality of your work. You can't control whether someone likes you, but you can control how kindly you treat them. You can't control whether you get sick, but you can control how you face illness. This isn't about becoming passive. It's about directing your energy toward what actually makes a difference. Aurelius faced plagues, wars, political betrayals, and personal losses, yet he maintained his equilibrium by focusing on his responses rather than trying to control outcomes. One of the most powerful themes throughout the Meditations is Aurelius's meditation on mortality. He doesn't dwell on death in a morbid way, but uses the awareness of life's brevity to clarify what really matters. He reminds himself that everyone he knows, including himself, will be forgotten within a few generations. This might sound depressing, but Aurelius finds it incredibly freeing. If nothing lasts forever, then petty concerns about status, reputation, or material success lose their grip on you. This perspective helps you focus on what the Stoics called virtue, which isn't about being morally superior to others, but about living according to your highest values regardless of external pressures. Here's a concrete example of how this works. When someone criticizes you unfairly or treats you rudely, your first instinct might be to defend yourself or attack back, but Aurelius would pause and consider what might be driving their behavior. Are they stressed? Insecure? Operating from incomplete information? This doesn't excuse their actions, but it helps you respond more skillfully. You might choose to clarify a misunderstanding, set a firm boundary, or simply let it go, but you're making that choice from wisdom rather than wounded pride. Another crucial insight from the Meditations is the idea of living in harmony with nature. For Aurelius, this doesn't mean camping in the wilderness, but understanding your place in the larger order of things. Humans are social creatures designed to work together for the common good. When you're acting selfishly or trying to get ahead at others' expense, you're working against your own nature and creating unnecessary suffering for yourself and others. This translates into a very practical approach to daily life. Instead of seeing other people as competitors or obstacles, you start seeing them as fellow travelers facing the same fundamental challenges you are. Everyone wants to be happy. Everyone struggles with fear and uncertainty. Everyone is trying to figure out how to live well. When you approach relationships from this perspective, you naturally become more collaborative, more forgiving, and more effective in your interactions with other people. The final major theme worth highlighting is Aurelius's approach to pleasure and pain. He doesn't advocate for avoiding all pleasure or seeking out suffering, but he warns against becoming attached to either. Pleasure is fine when it comes, but if you need it to be happy, you've made yourself dependent on circumstances beyond your control. Pain is unpleasant, but if you can accept it without adding mental suffering on top of physical discomfort, you maintain your inner freedom even in difficult circumstances. This is incredibly relevant for modern life, where we're constantly bombarded with messages telling us that happiness comes from external things, whether that's the right job, the right relationship, the right possessions, or the right experiences. Aurelius suggests that while these things can be enjoyable, true contentment comes from within. It comes from knowing that you're living according to your values, that you're contributing something meaningful to the world, and that you can maintain your dignity regardless of what happens to you. Throughout all of these teachings, what strikes you most about Aurelius is his humility. Here's a man with unlimited power who constantly reminds himself that he's just another human being, subject to the same limitations and mortality as everyone else. He doesn't claim to have figured it all out. He's just trying to live well and sharing his struggles with himself. This makes his wisdom feel accessible rather than preachy. He's not lecturing you from a position of superiority. He's inviting you to join him in the ongoing work of becoming a better person. The beauty of the meditations is that every page offers you something you can apply immediately. Whether you're dealing with a difficult boss, struggling with self-doubt, facing a major life change, or just trying to find more peace in your daily routine, Aurelius has been there. His insights aren't theoretical. They're battle-tested by someone who faced enormous challenges while trying to maintain his integrity and inner peace. To wrap up, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius offers us a timeless blueprint for living with wisdom, courage, and compassion. The core message is beautifully simple yet profoundly challenging. Focus on what you can control. Accept what you cannot. Treat others with kindness. Live according to your highest values. And remember that this life is brief and precious. These aren't just nice ideas to think about. They're practices that can transform how you experience every single day. If this summary has resonated with you, I'd love to hear how you plan to apply these Stoic principles in your own life. Drop a comment below sharing which insight hit you the most. And don't forget to like this video if it added value to your day. Subscribe to Dhawan Essence for more wisdom that can genuinely change how you approach life's challenges. And share this with someone who might benefit from Marcus Aurelius's timeless guidance. Remember, we're all in this journey of growth together, and every step toward wisdom makes the world a little bit better. Until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep unlocking the wisdom that leads to a truly fulfilling life.